Chalkboard Dust, collaboration with Soldier Blue and Catherine Wyatt. Fragile hands flutter in the chalk outlines of dust. White cupboards of kept saints and explorers, the cleaned histories of misery, blood, and anguish. Yea, the classroom is set, the wet clay of the children ready. And what shall be taught? Told to them truths? The passages that red earth knows as small-minded greed, the ones that set in motion the wheels of discovery. It is said that truth will out. Yea, will it? Or does it take the pain and sacrifice of those willing to do more than serve the face value of lip service to ensure some measure of truth be told somewhere, if not the classroom? Yea, and the blood of many is mingled in the dust that falls chalk heavy upon the classroom floor.
History. The myth of phallocentric mentality. Textbooks, rulers, impressions. What is said, what is not, creating heroes out of murderers. While the slain lay in shallow graves, dust swirls round the green where learning is tradition, but whose? What tongues are taught, picked from the lot offered? Chalkboard screeches images that cover screams while truth lies in the dust, collected on sheathed swords whose bloodletting picked the plumes of pens by sheer number and cunning. So it passed down to the victors for the stories, while young minds cry intuiting twisted realities, dislocated, frustrated, seeking truths that will never be revealed in limestone scratchings, and lies passed down to young minds for the preservation of image.
Petroglyphs telling more truths than chalkboards, the sense and sensibilities of we red earth not fooled by the pages of clean books, preferring the weathered faces of time and nature to teach us. You have heard of the pilgrims learning to plant the grace of corn, as taught them by we of red earth? Do you know why? To keep your ancestors out of our graveyards, robbing funerary foods from the earthen rest of our loved ones, and taking the clothes that would identify them to the people beyond the stars. You have heard of the Thanksgiving feast, where we and ye shared and broke bread. Do you know the truth of the first official feast? Medals and paperwork? The table was rather a tableau. The ground was the palisaded village of the Pequot people of Mystic, Connecticut, and the slaughter was over 700 women, children, and old ones, and for this, they, the soldiers, received medals and commendations and a proper feast for having done God's work. You have heard of the explorers Lewis and Clark and their native guides pressing into the unknown. If it was unknown, what use guides? And how they courageously forged ahead to make a map. But did you hear of the two young Blackfeet men they murdered after first accusing in righteousness the both of them as thieves, then taking all they had brought for trade and left peace medals upon them to, as Clark put it, show who had done this deed? Yea, to Medicine River, do you know it? We do. Red Earth does. Yea, sound familiar? Peace medals, i.e. death cards of war battalions. What teach you in the classrooms with your perfect posture and clean chalkboards? Education? Or programming, the filling of young malleable minds with your prefabbed prejudice before their ages even had double digits? Classified curriculums, death of oral traditions, keep it all in neat boxes.
Silver screen images. 1637, the first Thanksgiving, sharing food with our native friends, not the pretty pictures children paint with fingerprints, hands, the plumage of a shared meal, realities washed away in the blood of over 700, the Pequot women and children slaughtered for food, for land, for fur. Would the truth burn the eyes of our youth, those that survived, sold as slaves? As the Dutch and the French took scalps, the scalpel of those who carve up history, recount savage stories to suit the needs of a country whose land is soaked in blood and myth, etched on chalkboards, silencing a nation's shame. As the quiet dust settles upon the floors of classrooms nationwide and thoughts turn to mathematics and grammar, the smothered cries of the innocents fails yet again to be heard, and somewhere floating in formaldehyde,
Within the bowels of the Smithsonian Institute, the brain of Mangas Coloradas waits its proper return to burial as his skull gathers the dust of forgetfulness. So do the children's minds as the chuck dust is swept away. Down corridors of polished stone, as we of red earth recount to ourselves the bone beads of an invisible history, and ready ourselves for the barrage of ignorance that will assail our hearts by those supposedly so civilized, as we prepare in the dream time to walk upon the ghost road.